Dr. Hansen, for many years you've been warning politicians, businessmen, citizens of America about the threat of climate change to this country and to the world. Can you talk about, now in South Carolina we're faced with the prospect of a new coal plant that our state-owned utility is proposing for our state, and I'm curious about your thoughts on that proposal, what it means for South Carolina and what it means for the warning that you're giving to the nation and to the world.
Yeah, well, the emissions from a coal plant are, of course, enormous. They dwarf what we put out from our automobiles even. So what's become clear is that we're getting close to tipping points in the climate system, and the only practical way to solve the problem is to phase out coal emissions. And that's why any new coal-fired power plants are a big threat to the planet. And a symbolic one like this one is particularly important. People now realize there's a problem, and we really need to draw a line in the sand and say no more coal-fired power plants unless they capture the CO2. And this one would not be doing that. So it's really important. And, you know, I pointed out that with the issue of species extinction, if we continue on business as usual and lose a significant fraction of the 5 to 10 million species on the planet, you can actually identify that several of those, although you can't say which ones, can be credited to a coal-fired power plant. So, you know, it's really a moral issue as well as a very practical one for young people, because they're going to inherit the problems that it creates.
When you warn us about coal and what it will do to South Carolina, the nation, the world, a lot of times utilities will come back and say, well, then if we're not using coal, what is the solution? South Carolina happens to be one of the least efficient states in America when it comes to using electricity. It only gets about 1% of its energy from renewables, and that's being generous. So what are some of the solutions? If we're saying no to coal in South Carolina, as you say, what's the answer then?
Well, yes, efficiency is a big part of the solution. We could handle the increased needs for energy and electricity for at least a decade or two just by means of a strong emphasis on energy efficiency. South Carolina is much less efficient than Europe or California, a factor of 2 less efficient. So there's a lot of potential there. And then the next thing after that should be renewable energies. And between those two, that could take us far enough that we can figure out other things for later on.
Thank you very much.